The name-calling of goods and services, July 19th, 2024. When you challenge the zeitgeists of churches using technology, a fairly predictable script emerges. If we can't use X, that means Y must also be forbidden. And Y is often a bombastic or hyperbolic example, used to add absurdity to what I promise is a valid line of concern, questioning regarding tech use in the church. Question the use of something like the internet, and often the response is that we then have to question the use of the Bible itself, since it too is a form of technology. The apples and oranges wiggle together, and we have ourselves a nice fruit salad of theological mush, not formed enough to be spiritual meat, but not reformed enough to be soul food and casserole. What happens here, or what happened here, is a certain type of pastor has mid-witted his way past the honest layman making trouble by asking questions. He did so because he doesn't see or hear the difference between any kind of technology. To him, his theology of a brick is his theology of a laptop. It's neat and tidy and all-encompassing, allowing him to do what literally everyone else is doing with his tech, but to feel like it's what the tech is doing all by itself. But for the sake of argument, let's pick up a guitar and try to worship our way out of this false dichotomy. I've said it before, tech is not neutral because it's not made by neutral people. So what is the difference between an acoustic guitar playing Amazing Grace and an electric one? Surely we can't pick a technological fight with one without embroiling the other in the brawl. They're both pieces of technology that we are using for worship music. We can't get mad at one without getting mad at the other, right? Well, yes we can, because one is a musical instrument, and the other is a service styled like a musical instrument. The difference between goods, the guitar, and the service, the electric guitar, is hard to see at first, because they are both real things. The electric guitar looks like the acoustic guitar, in enough ways that you can tell they're at least cousins, and likely cousins that shouldn't marry if they were Mennonites. There are too many similarities to outright call them essentially different things, but put them on stage and they do very different things. The acoustic guitar plays 6 strings with chords and picks single strings to accent them. It strums and it tunes and it behaves like a guitar does. And the electric guitar can barely be heard from stage. Wait, the church sound guy says. You need to plug it into the amp. Wait, you need to plug the amp into the electrical outlet. Wait, you need to plug the amp into the sound system too. Wait, are you using effects pedals? You need to plug them in too. We need to do a sound check. Wait, there are more waits in waiting, but I don't mean to keep you. What just happened here? These two instruments are conceptually the same thing. 6 strings, fretboards, pegs, hardwood fixtures, mother-of-pearl inlays, and a PVC pickguard. And the best electric guitars seem to be hollow-bodied just like the acoustic ones. About the only tangible difference is one has a microphone built into it, technically. What's wrong with all this waiting? Well, because goods come as they are, and services come with conditions. The sun will dry your clothes for free, reliably, every day, so long as the rain isn't giving them an extra rinse cycle. But solar power to run your dryer needs specific angles and hours of sunlight to charge specific batteries and off-grid systems, built specifically by trained tradesmen who hang their coveralls out to dry in the sun. A Tesla only looks like a car. Anyone with a real car can tell you, but those who have bit the EV bullet from Mr. Musk aren't driving cars. They're being driven by AI, and what's ostensibly a phone app with more expensive hardware. You can tell they're being driven by the way you can't idly hit someone because the car will decide your driving needs to stop. My everyday driver can hit people and requires a sacrifice of my sinful desires to drive in a straight line and swerve when necessary. It can't stop me from sinning because it's a car and I'm a sinner. It's also fully capable of sinning, fully capable of doing sinful things, but it doesn't because it's a car and not the service of a car. My 1.8-liter Toyota Echo and its neighbor of a work truck, a domestic 6.7-liter Dodge Ram 2500, are the kind of cousins that can't have extra fun at family reunions. They are versions of each other, and they are what every car since Great Grampy Ford Model T left the assembly line were. And the best part is, they know it. The Dodge doesn't try anything with its Japanese cousin because the relationship is too close, and vice versa. They both sneak into the pantry for snacks and not other things that involve mouths and tongues. They don't cause the kinds of problems that a more complicated machine will cause when it's made to look like something simpler. But the Tesla is something else. It comes to the family reunion like a newcomer with conditions, like the kind you get from your mother when you want to bring your new girlfriend to said reunion. But she might look like everyone else there, 2 eyes, 1 nose, and a fondness for casserole and sweet tea, but she isn't family unless an entirely new set of conditions are met. She can take the Dodge to the pantry and get into a lot more trouble because there are less relations, and the strangeness is the fuel for that trouble when not addressed. No one bats an eye at Dodge and Toyota being in a room alone together. They're family. But people wonder what that Ram is doing in his bedroom with the door closed with the Cybertruck every time she comes over. We've all heard the joke that family of cars spells sexy with a 3. Better keep that door open, Mr. Musk. The guitar, like the voice, is a relation to music outright. The voice makes a sound with a bit of training, and the guitar makes a sound too that can be joyful to the delight of the Lord. The difference between a mic'd acoustic guitar and electric guitar is one is an amplified version of the genuine article, and the other one is a manipulated version of the genuine article. One is made for and used to the end of its purpose, and the other is an end in itself leading to other purposes and other ends. As many as you could fit into an effects pedal, to be exact. This is an important distinction because of the lack of distinguishing between what goods are and what services are. Goods are actually things in time and space, and services aren't. Services are concepts that pull goods in as their fuel. Services are what you give and what give you the security of never having to worry about hitting a pedestrian by removing your right to repair your own vehicle or drive. Services are what let you play worship songs, exactly, literally, like Hillsong and Bethel play their songs, at the cost of having to own and operate a litany of tech to support the idea of those songs in the first place. A fragile system that often goes down mid-song the way a hymnal and a choir never seem to. What we then call goods in our lives and services matters because only by saying things are all right when they are not, it's only by saying things are all right when they are not that we get ourselves into trouble. It wasn't until we said we could gather online that we dared to share communion with ourselves and a screen. We would never try to share communion over a postcard or a letter to the Corinthians, but a pen and paper are conceptually understood as the kind of goods that can provide those services. But when given enough stimuli, a screen that tastes nothing like bread and speakers that taste nothing like wine convinced us that we could do a communal and metaphorical meal with our gathered body of believers at home with wine and bread we didn't actually share with them communally. You all did it a few years back in the hopes that it was at least permissible to do. Tech convinced you to enter into a form of worship and sacrament during a pandemic that was drastically different than what was theologically correct. And it did so because that's what technological services do. They beg you to use them. They beg you to try it out, to see if they can satisfy your needs and desires. They are an attractive newcomer asking for help in the pantry to get the honey, and their features and services look as smooth as they are, which is the problem. And now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. For they that are such serve not our Lord Jesus Christ, but their own belly, and by good works, words, and fair speeches, deceive the hearts of the simple. For your obedience is come abroad to all men, and I am glad therefore on your behalf. But yet I would have you wise that to which is good, and simple concerning evil. Romans 16:17-19, King James Version. The church saw the internet in its time of need, and maybe better put, saw that it could provide a service of Sunday mornings in communion with very little tweaks to what we actually did on Sunday mornings during communion. It saw that bread on a screen and bread on a charger looked the same way, and it called it the same thing and let the electric guitar do a slightly longer solo because it was good for engagements on the live stream. But what the church didn't do during COVID was communion because it wasn't together. No one shared bread, no one passed the cup, and some of us ate later because the live stream was recorded. It provided a service instead of practicing a good. Until the church can rightly make these kinds of distinctions, we will have the kinds of things that went sideways during COVID go sideways without COVID. And for an eating, everyone taketh before his own supper, and one is hungry, and another is drunken. What? Have ye not houses to eat and to drink in? Or despise ye the church of God, and shame them that have not? What shall I say unto you? Shall I praise you in this? I praise you not. But let a man examine himself, so let him eat that of that bread and drink of that cup. For if he eateth and drinketh unworthily, he eateth and drinketh damnation unto himself, not discerning the Lord's body. 1 Corinthians 11:21-22 and 28-29, King James Version.